Order the regular city council meeting of September 22nd, 2014 with a roll call, please.
Mayor Martini?
Here.
Council members Ratty? Here. Lawson?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Kerrigan? Schmidt? Absent. City Manager Driscoll?
Here.
City Attorney Adams?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, if you'd all stand for the invocation speaker, Tom White, Church of Latter-day Saints. Is Tom here? Okay. Right in front of me. I should have known. Thank you for being here, sir.
It's the same haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it in his honor.
Thank you.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity we have to meet together this day in this city council meeting. And we ask a special blessing upon our mayor and city councilmen as they conduct the affairs of our great city. We pray that thou wilt be with them, that they will be able to use wisdom and discernment in the things that are brought before them. We pray that thou wilt bless the citizens who came here to discuss certain things, that they will be able to do so properly with respect for the mayor and city council. We pray that thou wilt look with favor upon our great city, that we will be able to grow and progress properly, that our economy will be able to grow and progress. We ask a special blessing also that thou wilt bless those firefighters in California, that they will be able to contain the fires, and that thou wilt send moisture to our area. We are grateful for the blessing of being born in this great free country, and pray that thou be with us now in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir, for the kind words. Appreciate it. Whoops. Mr. Lawson, would you lead us? Mr. Smith, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Absolutely. If you'll join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chet, we don't have a quorum right now, but we can continue on with non-action items, can we not?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to public comment. I have one public comment card from Ardina Perry. Come on up, Ardina. If you want to speak under public comment, just grab one of these from the clerk, and you're welcome to come up and speak for 3 minutes.
Hi, Gino. For the record, Ardina Perry, citizen of Sparks since 1974. Can you get a read on me? I know I'm a nightmare on these things. I'm just going to read this, and that way we don't have me wandering all over. I'm here today to request the Sparks City Council revisit the agreement Sparks made with Washoe County via the interlocal agreement for animal care and control. Consideration for withdrawal from the Regional Animal Services Agreement is the direction I feel would best serve the animals and citizens of Sparks. Sorry about this, guys, but we've all got the smoke. In 2006, shortly after the shelter opened, the county's vendor for sheltering animals for adoption made a drastic change in policy, which has resulted in many of the agreed-upon services being dropped. The professional services agreement has never been honored or rewritten by the county, and the shelter has basically become an adoption center having only field services provided by the county. The humane officers of the vendors were laid off, and the wild department was turned into a cattery. Actually, most of it is a cattery. Owner surrenders are turned away because the vendor pulls from the county side, which then forces owners to turn their animals into the county in violation of the contract, and always robs the animal of its identity, thus a chance for adoption. This process puts an unfunded mandate on YCRIS. The county pays for vaccination and intake care, after which the vendor pulls the already vetted animals it turned away 2 days ago. The larger concern, however, is the change to code. Washoe is currently trying to codify a process known commonly as CAPA, or California calls it Hayden's Bill, which completely removes the owner's right. CAPA states no animal may be euthanized if any person or rescue wants it. The decision to put an animal down should remain with the owner. They are property in the state of Nevada. We don't have to like that, but that is the way it is. And animals are owned for their own protection. I am wary of seeing 15 and 16-year-old German Shepherds with cancer forced to remain in the shelter when the owner has requested their animal be put down humanely. This is a numbers game in which helpless, sick animals are the pawns. In an ideal world, we would all take our animals to the comfort of their own vet for the final time. But in this economy, that is not always possible, and this is a service the county agreed to provide, which it has not done for 6 years. I'll be happy to expand on that if you ever want to know. I think these differences between the county and the city of Sparks values would prohibit any type of successful partnership so long as they pursue this ideology.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ardina, and we'll enter this into the record. You're welcome. Anyone else under public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Mr. Lawson's back. Approval of the agenda. Anybody want to take anything out of order? If not, looking for a motion. Mr. Smith.
Move to approve.
Ms. Ratty. Second. Moved by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilwoman Ratty to approve the agenda as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Mr. Smith. Please display. Passes unanimously. Okay, next is approval of the minutes, consideration and possible approval of minutes of the regular Sparks City Council meeting for September 8th, 2014. Any omissions or corrections or deletions? Not looking for a motion. Ms. Ratty,
Move to approve as presented.
do we have a second? Mr. Lawson.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Ratty, seconded by Councilman Lawson to approve the minutes as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, let's move on to proclamations. First up, 7.1 Hunger Action Month. Anyone here to accept this? Come on down. How are you? I'll go ahead and read this and have a seat. I'll go ahead and read this and then present it to you, and then you can say a few words, please. Whereas hunger and poverty are issues of grave concern in the United States and the city of Sparks, Nevada. And whereas the city of Sparks, Nevada is committed to taking steps to raise awareness about the need to combat hunger in every part of the state and to provide additional resources that citizens of Nevada need. And whereas the city of Sparks, Nevada is committed to working with Food Bank of Northern Nevada and educating people about the role and importance of food banks in addressing hunger and raising awareness of the need to devote more resources and action to hunger issues. And whereas more than 1 in every 4 children in Northern Nevada rely on food provided by the members of the Food Bank of Northern Nevada annually. And whereas the members of Food Bank of Northern Nevada distributed more than 12.5 million pounds of food in 2013 through its network and food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, and other community organizations. And whereas food banks across the country, including the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, will host numerous events throughout the month of September to bring awareness and attention to encourage involvement in efforts to end hunger in their local communities. Now, therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim September 2014 as Hunger Action Month and call this observance to the attention of our citizens. Thank you. Go ahead and say a few words, please.
Thank you so much for this proclamation. My name is Jocelyn Lantrip, and I work with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. It is no mystery that hunger has been a severe issue in our communities in the last few years, and it's also recognized that the City Council of Sparks and its citizens have helped us meet that need, and without your support, I don't know that we could have done that. So thank you very much.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm Shane Piccini. I'm also with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. And I just wanted to warn you that this upcoming year there's some important legislative activities that are going to be happening in terms of nutrition funding, so we're going to be knocking on your door, asking you for some assistance on helping us continue the work that we've done together as partners.
Thank you both so much for what you do in the community. Everywhere I go, I see you folks at the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, and it's much appreciated what you folks do, because I know there's a lot of people that are hungry out there and could not, I repeat, could not get along without what you folks do. I went a couple times to a summer program for kids where there was tons and tons and tons of kids there, and it was just very enjoyable for me to go there and see the kids that come and enjoy the food and things. So thank you guys so much for all that you do.
Thank you.
Okay, next is International Walk to School Day. Someone here to get this? Come on down. Okay, whereas parents driving children to school can account for up to 25% of the morning rush hour traffic in vicinity of schools. Walking and bicycling to school reduces the number of vehicle trips in the vicinity of schools and potential conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians or bicyclists. And whereas reducing the number of vehicles during student-to-school results in increased safety, reduced traffic congestion, improved air quality, and less fuel consumption in the vicinity of schools. And whereas the benefits related to physical activity at an early age play a leading role in reducing rates of heart disease, diabetes, and other obesity-related health problems among children. And whereas children walking and bicycling to school together with parents and caregivers opens opportunities to mentor children about pedestrian and bicycle safety and its benefits related to health and environment. And whereas walking and bicycling to school offers an opportunity to build physical activity into both parents and children's daily routines. Now therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, October 1st, 2014 as International Walk to School Day in Sparks, and encourage citizens of Sparks, Nevada to walk or bicycle with their children to school while celebrating the benefits of increased safety and health this day and throughout the year. Thank you.
Well, this year our fall break locally is between the 6th and the 10th. Nationally, the Walk to School Day would be on that Wednesday. So here in Washoe County School District, we had to change it and we upped it to October 1st. But millions of children, parents, teachers, and community leaders across the globe will be walking to celebrate the International Walk to School Day. Locally, Van Gorder will be celebrating. We'll meet at Hessington Park, and it's on the corner of Generation and Campello. I invite anybody that would like to walk with the Board of Education trustee, Tracy Davis, and the principal, Ms. Van Tress, out there. We'll meet in the park, we'll go over safety tips, and then we'll all walk to the school together. We have 9 schools that will be participating this year, and Safe Routes to School continues to encourage the students to make a healthy choice for biking and walking to and from school. This one-day event is only a platform. It's a big celebration. However, it's what the community can see and the parents can see, so it can encourage that for all year long.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, next is proclamation for National Coming Out Day. Ms. Ratty, is there anyone here to accept these? Come on down. I think there's 2 groups here that we're going to give these to. We have 2 proclamations. They're both the same, so Ms. Ratty is going to read one, and then we'll present them to you. Thanks.
Whereas our nation draws its strength from our diversity, with each of us contributing to the greater whole, and whereas as Americans it is our birthright that all people are created equal and deserve the same rights, privileges, and opportunities, and whereas every person deserves to be who they are without fear or consideration of escape through substance abuse or suicide, And whereas PFLAG Reno Sparks is an organization of parents, families, friends, and allies united with people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, LGBT, with a mission of support, education, and advocacy. And whereas Build Our Center is an organization working to build, connect, and strengthen our community and its support for LGBTQA issues in Northern Nevada with the goal of building a community center. Now therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim October 11th, 2014 as National Coming Out Day, and urge all employees and residents to observe this day by eliminating prejudice and discrimination and promoting love and acceptance.
Please say a few words. Sure. Whoever wants to speak, one or all, doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Jeremy Mankey, and I'm the president of the board for Build Our Center. As a very young organization, we've only had our C3 for just over a year now. We're very excited to have the support of the City of Sparks. It's very important to us as we continue in our mission to connect and strengthen the community in support of LGBT issues, and also to promote acceptance and awareness of the challenges that are still faced by our LGBT neighbors here in the community. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Yes, I'm Holly Wilson with PFLAG, and I also mirror Jeremy's words, and we're very excited to have this proclamation. We thank you very much. And we do look forward. PFLAG Reno Sparks is a new chapter. We have opened, we had one before, but it was dormant for a while, and we have new enthusiasm coming forth, and there's a lot of interest. So we're very proud to be a part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir? Judy, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, just did you want to do you have a website or contact information for anybody who's trying to connect with you?
Very much so. You can find Build Our Center at buildourcenter.org. We do have events and activities throughout the year, including our youth group, which we are really pushing forward this year. So, very much.
And we have a website, PFLAGRenoSparks.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, next is proclamation of fallen firefighter, Mr. Chief Garrison. Whereas the United States Congress and the President of the United States have designated the day of the annual National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Service as a day to honor firefighters and emergency services personnel who have sacrificed their lives to save others, by lowering the American flag on all federal buildings to half-staff. And whereas an average of 100 firefighters courageously make the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty each year. And whereas the events of September 11, 2001 brought national attention to the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices faced by fire and emergency services personnel on a daily basis. And whereas firefighters and emergency services personnel play an essential role in the protection of lives and property in our local community. Now therefore I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, now call upon all citizens of the City of Sparks and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the day of October 4th, 2014, in recognition of the patriotic service and dedicated efforts of our fire and emergency services personnel by lowering the American flags on all buildings to half-staff. I encourage appropriate services and ceremonies in which all of our citizens may participate to honor fire and emergency services personnel past and present who by their faithful and loyal devotion to duties have rendered invaluable services to our community and its citizens. I further call upon citizens of the City of Sparks to remember all fire and emergency personnel who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community and to pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. Thank you.
Martini, City Council. For the record, Tom Garrison, Fire Chief. I'm honored to accept this proclamation on behalf of the Sparks Fire Department. So far in 2014, 62 firefighters have died in the United States. It's no secret that firefighting is dangerous work, and I thought I'd take this opportunity to address Council to inform you of the efforts of your fire department and how we're trying to make the fire ground a safer place. The Sparks Fire Department prides itself on aggressively attacking structure fires, and we try to prevent as much fire damage as possible. Every house on fire is in the process of falling down. Now, I know that sounds melodramatic, and I told you I wasn't going to be melodramatic when I took this job, but it is true. To prevent this from happening, we have what I term a window of opportunity to prevent the fire from causing the structure to fall down. This window of opportunity starts when the fire begins and ends when the structure collapses. The longer it takes for the fire to be reported, whatever is burning in the house, like the attic or the walls, and the longer it takes for us to make an interior attack depends on if we have a long window of opportunity or a short one. To help us operate safely but also remain effective, we emphasize two things. The first are special firefighting tactics, and more specifically, recently, the use of what we call transitional attack. In this attack, we darken the fire first from the outside, keep it under check, and then quickly and enter the structure to put the fire out, and that's really the only way for us to effectively put a fire out, is with an interior attack. This allows us to stretch this window of opportunity and also provides a safer environment once we make an interior attack. The second thing we emphasize is that everybody on the fire ground stays aware of the conditions that indicate an imminent collapse. All of our incident commanders, our safety officers, as well as all our personnel continuously monitor the environment to make sure that if any indicators of collapse are imminent, we pull our crews out. We recently learned, however, that even with these specialized tactics and heightened awareness, our job is very risky. On February 8th of this year, I sent you all an email concerning our response to a fire at the Pyramid Professional Center. Quite frankly, we had a very close call there. What was originally thought to be a common room and contents fire was in actuality a raging fire in the ceiling joist area and the attic. At the last minute, we recognized the pending collapse. We pulled the crews out just as the roof and ceiling collapsed. Fortunately, there were no injuries, but it did give us a pretty sobering wake-up call. The design of the building provided very little way in outside indicators that a collapse was imminent. In response, the fire department has implemented new urgency in the pre-fire planning program, and now we're looking at all the buildings that pose significant fire threat and pre-planning them. As firefighters, we know there are risks associated with the job. However, your fire department will never accept the fact that losing a person's life is part of this job. We will continue to make adjustments to our operations to ensure that everybody goes home safe. In conclusion, again, thank you for the proclamation. I know we need to honor these people, and we'll do it to the best of our abilities. But my hope is someday that you don't have to make this recognition. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate all you do. Next is proclamation for Fire Prevention Week. Mr. King. Whereas the City of Sparks is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our community, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risks from fire. Whereas residents who have planned and participated in a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas working smoke alarms can cut the risk of dying in a reported home fire in half. And whereas first responders for the City of Sparks are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas the 2014 Fire Prevention Week theme, Working Smoke Alarms Saves Lives, effectively serves to remind us all to install and maintain working smoke detectors during Fire Prevention Week and year-round. Now, therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim October 5th through the 11th, 2014, as Fire Prevention Week and urge everyone to protect their homes and families by heeding the potentially life-saving message of Fire Prevention Week 2014 and to support the many activities and efforts of the City of Sparks Fire and Emergency Services. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Fire Marshal Bob King for record. I really appreciate that you said this proclamation today. It is something that's very near and dear to our hearts for public fire safety education for the community. This is the time of year when we can even step up efforts more than what we do throughout the year for fire safety education to the public. And of course, this is also a time of year when we like to invite the public to come out to their fire station and meet their firefighters and see the fire trucks that they see out in the community every day, and to be able to talk with the firefighters and learn about all the different skills and the different jobs that we do out in the community for all of our citizens out here, such as high angle rescue and hazmat and structure firefighting and water rescue. It's quite a lot of things that the firefighters do, and we love to talk about it. So on October 4th will be our 25th annual Pancake Breakfast Open House for the public. And this is my time to be able to invite yourselves and the public out to their fire station to have a great pancake breakfast cooked by a lot of our city leaders, firefighters, and they get pancakes, eggs, ham, juice, milk, coffee, all for the low price of $5 for an adult, $2 for kids under 12, $2 for seniors. And that price has been there for many, many years. We have not changed it because this is not something that we're out to really raise a lot of money. This is a public relations event that we want people to come to the fire department and meet us. And this year we have many things going on since it's the 25th year. We have live demonstrations out on our back ramp, a couple more than we've had in the past that I think people really love to see. We have static events inside. We have tours of the fire station, raffles, pictures with Sparky the fire dog, and then they'll actually get to take that picture home with them right there on the spot as well. And then we have a puppet show as well that the kids will really love. So it's a great event. It's at our main fire station on Victorian Avenue. It starts at 8 o'clock. It goes till noon. Parking is always a big issue, so the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Nevada has stepped up again, as they have in the past years, and they've offered their shuttle bus, which will pick people up over in the west parking lot of the theater. You just park over there. There's plenty of parking. Picks you up there, drops you off right in front of the fire station, and then whenever you're ready to go, it continues and it'll take you back to where your car is parked. So real easy for getting to the fire station. A couple other big things that we're doing this year, especially since it's 25th anniversary, is this is our inaugural First Alarm 5K walk run that we have this year. One of our firefighters, Captain Kevin Jacobus, is an avid runner, and he's helped put this together for us this year. So all those athletes, like all of you up here, those athletes out there like to get a little run in before pancakes. You can sign up on www.active.com or come out and register at 6:30 in the morning on that morning and do a little 5K run. A little something special about this 5K run, though. It's actually 3.43 miles. Do you know what the 3.43 means?
343.
That was very, very good.
Feet behind the fire truck.
Number of firefighters that were killed, yeah.
Awesome. Oh, very good, very good. Yes, this will be a tribute to 9/11 as well. So he made it exactly 3.43 miles, and that'll end up back at the fire station. But So the proceeds of the pancake breakfast, the funds that we receive always go right back out to the community, to our public education program for Project SAFE and many other programs. And then the 5K run, it will be going to two different things. One, of course, is our victims of fire. Anybody that unfortunately has a fire, then we try to help them out as well and get them back on their feet. And then it also be going to our benevolent fund, which then we help try to support other entities in our community, such as the schools and that, when they're doing their fundraising. So that's where the proceeds goes for both those events. One other thing that we're doing this year that I'm really excited about, I had the American Red Cross contacted us and said that they would love to be a partner in education with our Project SAFE program with a home fire preparedness campaign that they're doing across the country. So absolutely, we said, yes, we'd love to. We'd love to do this together. And they have some events coming up in October as well. And with that, I have a representative, Clara Andriola, here to talk a little bit about it, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Welcome, Clara.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I really want to extend a deep appreciation to you and to the council members and to the city manager, to Chief Garrison and to Fire Marshal, who have been just open arms in terms of the campaign. I'd like to take one moment and just share with you some information. The Red Cross, obviously, at a national level, responds to over 70,000 types of disasters. The majority of them are home fires. So just to give you an idea, about 1,000 times a day, literally a fire department is called somewhere in the nation related to a home fire. Of that, 7 people die a day. 7 people die a day. So obviously home fires don't get the national press as many other disasters do. And the folks who are on the ground every day putting their life at risk, really, it would be great if we didn't have to actually go out and help those clients that have been impacted or displaced due to not having a place to stay and additional resources. So I just want to give you one other little number that I think really puts things in perspective. In terms of the deaths that occurred in Katrina, the 2011 tornadoes, and Superstorm Sandy, if you take all those deaths and you combine them, they come very close to 1 year of deaths related to home fires in 2012. Just 1 year. So it's a very serious situation that, again, doesn't get the attention. But I hope none of you ever have to experience losing your home to a home fire, and that would be the largest disaster you would ever face. So imagine going home and leaving for work and coming home and you had no home. What would you do? So what the Red Cross is doing at a national level, we've all been in partnership with various fire departments, like the Sparks Fire Department. Certainly that's been a proud community sponsor in terms of lots of things that we do, especially helping clients of residents in Sparks. But the point is that the Red Cross is now looking at a national campaign and rolling this out for 5 years. And the intention of the goal is to reduce serious deaths and injuries by 25%. So how are we doing this? We're doing this by partnering with our partners, but in a more formal way. And so on October 11th, we're actually canvassing Sparks and various other parts of the community to go out and share information about being prepared. And the great news is Sparks should be extremely proud of being very progressive in leading that charge with a program that's already been in place for over 4 years. So it's really great. We're going to be passing out the materials that are already in existence with Project SAFE, and we're going to be sharing with the Sparks residents the ability to contact the system that's already in place for installation of smoke detectors. So that's what's happening on October 8th. On October 9th, I'd like to extend an open invitation to all of you, and I'll be emailing it to you, to celebrate our partnership at the Regional Emergency Operations Center on Spectrum, because it's certainly an amazing opportunity, whether it be Sparks and other community partners, because we can't all do it individually. We can do it together, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. I'll leave you with one story that was really amazing. I met with a chief of staff of a U.S. representative of Nevada, and when I gave the person the information, much like the city manager was kind enough to extend an opportunity for me to share some of those details. In the conversation before we even started, the person shared that after I sent the materials, the person read them, and literally when the person's husband got home, had them check all their smoke alarms in their house to find that 2 of them were defective. And so it's not necessarily just socioeconomic conditions that prevent smoke alarms. It's also just not realizing that you need to do things like maybe check on them or clean them and put batteries in them. So we're looking at doing more than just targeting socioeconomic communities, although that's where we're going. And we're looking at certainly the high population of seniors who have the highest result of deaths, unfortunately, due to home fires. So we have a targeted focus, great partnership, and we certainly appreciate everyone's support, and hopefully we can see you on October 9th, and then at the fire station on October 11th as we roll out this canvassing and support of Project SAFE.
Do you have a question, Julia?
Just a couple comments. First of all, love to see the public-private partnerships. Thank you, Clara. And the Red Cross has been doing such great work in our community. Congratulations on the sold-out golf tournament. I heard that it was fabulous.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, so I hope this is okay. We have a whole bunch of representatives here today from the Sparks Heritage Museum, and they've been working with the city to grow a new event called the Western Heritage Festival, which happens to be on the same day as the pancake breakfast. You've got the perfect target audience, and theirs is right after yours. And so I'm wondering if it would be okay to come to your event and promote that festival, because it is a great free event for families to just head on. They're already downtown, head on down the street, and enjoy the Heritage Festival.
I'm sure that we can set up a table there for them.
Perfect, thank you. We'll see if we can make that work, because how many people do you think turn out for the pancake breakfast now?
You know, it depends on the years, but we've had anywhere from low 500 to high 1,500 people.
Yeah. So it would be a great opportunity for families to find out about even more fun they could have on downtown, which we're, of course, trying to do. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you both, and everybody come to the pancake breakfast, it's great, and then go to the Heritage Museum after that. I think you'd have a wonderful Saturday morning, so the pancake breakfast is a good deal. It's a lot of fun, too, so thanks.
Thank
both
you.
of you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, 7.6, presentation and update of federal government affairs issues, including federal matters impacting the city of Sparks by Anya Graves and CHG and Associates. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Driscoll, Mr. Adams. I'm Adam Mayberry, your Community Relations Manager, and to my right is Anya Graves. You recognize Anya as our federal lobbyist with CHG and Associates. The city manager thought it would be appropriate time, given that the House and Senate both have adjourned, reconvene after the November election, for Anya to give kind of a high-level update to you and talk a little bit about the political climate, some of the key issues that have been discussed and moved in Washington, along with some key issues that are impacting our great city. So with that, I'll turn it over to Anya. Thank you for coming.
Hi, thank you very much, Adam. For the record, my name is Anya Graves, and I'm very happy, Mr. Mayor and Councilman, to be here today. A little update from Washington on issues. Last Thursday night, the Senate cleared a continuing resolution, thank you, also known as a CR in D.C. lingo, that would fund the federal government for 10 weeks and provide short-term authorization for the military to train and equip Syrian rebels. The stopgap measure passed easily a day after winning broad support from the House. The spending bill would fund federal agencies through December 11th at an annualized rate of about $1 trillion, extending prior year spending levels and policy directives into the early months of fiscal 2015. The law provides about $88 million in extra funding for the anti-Ebola effort, as well as more money for disability claims for processing Department of Veterans Affairs issues. Congress' rapid consideration of the stopgap was relatively uneventful, particularly when compared to last year's negotiations, which led to a 16-day government shutdown. So that was, I think, a positive outcome. The House and Senate have both adjourned, as Adam mentioned, and will not return to D.C. until after the November elections, allowing them to campaign without a threat of a government shutdown. On Friday, the President signed the legislation, which means federal agencies will now begin fiscal 2015 with actually little or no guidance from Capitol Hill. Officials
Little or no what?
Guidance.
Guidance.
Yeah. It's just a couple of weeks of funding. So officials instead will go into preservation mode, which we've seen for many years now, holding back from entering into new contracts and filling vacancies while deferring maintenance on equipment and facilities. Agencies will especially be conservative when planning for operations beyond mid-December. I point this out because there could be an impact here locally. Could be, in fact, be detrimental to the region as local governments may have to defer federally funded programs and projects, depending on how the federal agencies decide to distribute funding. So looking forward to November and the lame duck session. If Republicans win the Senate, the prospects for an omnibus spending bill during the lame duck diminish. But in any case, Congress will first take up the remainder of the spending bills, either in the form of a CR or an omnibus. One is a little less funding than the other. Additional items may be considered during this time period as well. As you may recall, there are more than 50 tax breaks pending that expired last 2013, December 2013, and Congress has yet to extend them. There's generally agreement on Capitol Hill that the tax breaks should continue, but lawmakers are split between making them permanent and just extending them temporarily. Another factor in any year-end spending talks could be the child migrant crisis that came to the forefront of the national news recently. Additional war discussions, authorizing the president to go to war, and those are just to name a few. While many matters could capture the attention of Congress this September, I don't suspect much legislation will pass, with the exception of a spending bill with a potential rider for those tax extenders. On to local priorities. Chair. I'm happy to announce, some of you already know, that on Friday, September 12th, U.S. DOT Secretary Anthony Fox announced the latest round of TIGER grants. Those are for investments in local government entities for transportation infrastructure. Grants for fiscal 2014 totaled almost $580 million, and were awarded to only 72 projects in 46 states. This was after they received 800 applications nationwide. The largest awards were at $25 million and were for projects in Maine, New York, and Virginia. The smallest was for about $100,000 for a project in Minnesota. And I'm happy to report that the Washoe County Regional Transportation Commission received a $16 million award for the Fourth Prater Way project, which will improve both the roadway, pedestrian and bicycle amenities, as well as improve the bus rapid transit service between downtown Reno and Sparks. So you all should be very proud, and I'm very happy that you're getting that money. Probably will take another year, but at least we know it's in the works. I've received clear guidance from City Manager Driscoll to work with department heads on city priorities that have been identified by the council, including transportation priorities like I-11 and the Southeast Connector, to name two, economic development issues that affect the city, public lands, and, of course, the flood control project. I will be assisting the city in identifying and pursuing federal grants and legislation as appropriate. I'll continue to work with everyone and report back here in the next couple of months.
I thought maybe you were putting us all on a diet, because I see you got up there food control instead of flood.
Oh. Oops. I'll send you my food control plan, too, if you want.
meant to put a L where it
Yeah. Okay, what else?
That's what I've got. Do you have any, I'm happy to, for any questions or thoughts or directives.
No, thanks. We appreciate all you do for us back there, Anya. It's a pleasure.
Thanks.
Really.
And congratulations and good luck. I'm happy to help on the new Tesla announcement.
Perfect. Thanks. Adam, anything? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to consent items. Anybody want to pull a consent item? Not looking for a motion. Mr. Lawson.
Move to approve the items 8.1 and through 8.3.
Do you have a second? Mr. Smith.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Councilman Smith to approve the consent items. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Moving on to general business, consideration and possible approval of a resolution number 3265, authorizing certain individuals to make financial commitments to purchase, sell, and approve collateral for investment securities on behalf of the city. Debbie, go ahead.
Hi, Debbie Kinder for the record, accounting manager, and we've had a change in staff. Curtis Cho, our investment accountant, moved on greener pastures, I guess, and we now have Rick Parton, who will be doing investments, which necessitates approval of this resolution that authorizes him to do so.
Questions for Debbie? Mr. Smith?
We do this all along, we're just changing the person that does it.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
Any other questions? Looking for a motion? Mr. Lawson.
Move to approve resolution number 3265, authorizing certain individuals to make financial commitments to purchase, sell, and approve collateral for investment securities on behalf of the city.
Mr. Smith.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Councilman Smith to approve 9.1 as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. 9.2, consideration of possible direction to staff to negotiate a contract with the Sparks Heritage Museum and Cultural Center to relocate Last Chance Joe to the southern side of the city-owned building at 820 Victorian Avenue, with all expenses to be paid by Sparks Heritage Museum and Cultural Center. Mr. Martini, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. John Martini, Assistant Community Services Director, here today for your consideration and possible direction staff to enter into basically a contract negotiation with the Sparks Heritage Museum for the relocation of Last Chance Joe from where he currently sits at the Nugget to within our public right-of-way, adjacent to the Sparks Heritage Museum on the south side facing Victorian Square. As background, the genesis of this request came from the museum in a letter on September 9th to City Manager Driscoll, in which they requested three direct things from the city. The first is permission to relocate him into our public right-of-way. The second is for the waiver of building permit fees associated with the construction. And the third is permission for the museum to move forward with the assumption that all funding will be done by the museum such that the project can be completed. Staff has reviewed this request and offers the following to the council. We believe that the Last Chance Joe can be relocated into the public right-of-way. There are some structural engineering and analysis that would need to be done on the proper way to either connect him to the building adjacent or to create some kind of freestanding structure similar to a freestanding sign for him to be along the frontage. Secondarily, we estimate the cost of the waiver that is requested you for building permit fees at somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500 with an understanding that there will be staff time associated as well that we can't really estimate. The third request is for you to acknowledge that the museum will not move forward until all the necessary funding has been obtained by the museum. And then lastly, as we read the letter and the request, there is, in staff's opinion, a fourth item for you to consider, and that is the ultimate responsibility of Last Chance Joe should he be located. Last Chance Joe would be in the public right-of-way. The museum's letter indicates that he would become the city's property. With that, there would be a long-term maintenance cost. Staff would like the opportunity through the contract negotiations to determine with the museum long-term maintenance obligations. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm available if you do have any questions. I think there are a few folks here to speak today as well.
Questions for John? Mr. Smith?
You know, when we talked about this a couple meetings ago, maybe a couple months ago.
A couple months ago?
Yeah, we talked about no expense to the city if they can raise the money, and they've done a great job raising money to do this. But waiving fees and maintenance to maintain Last Chance Joe over the years, there will be an expense there. So I'm not in favor of this as it stands unless they raise all the money. It seems, and don't take this wrong, museum, but several years ago we decided to not charge you rent on the museum. And it seems sometimes every time we get something, as long as the city pays for it, it's okay. So that's a comment. It's not a question.
Understood.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we have some public speakers, so I'll start that right now. Mr. Jessup, Julia? Yeah, Richard Simmons.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. For the record, I'm Dr. Richard Simmons. I'm currently President of the Board of Trustees of the Sparks Heritage Museum and Cultural Center. With me at the table is Ms. Barbara Young, our Vice President, and she wishes to make a comment when I'm finished. We thank you for this opportunity to address you. I believe the email message that I sent to City Manager Driscoll, a copy of which is attached to your staff's excellent report regarding Agenda Item 9.2, currently accurately reflects our position regarding the project to save the Sparks iconic landmark, Last Chance Joe. In regards to a couple of points that have been brought up on the city owning it, I was under the impression at the time I wrote that memo that he would be attached to the building, in which case it would seem to me that that automatically makes it Sparks property. That is certainly a negotiable point, and as is the long-term curation and maintenance. But I just wanted to make that clear. That wasn't an absolute requirement. In regards to staff negotiating a contract with us, we have no objection to that, although I do have a question which one of you might be able to answer. If we successfully negotiate a contract that's satisfactory to staff as well as to our board, does it have to come back to the council for approval? And the only reason I ask that question is because there still is somewhat of a time criticality here, although in our partnership with Council Lady Ratty, it looks like we have a place to park him in the meantime, but there still is a time criticality. I was just curious if it would have to come back to the council.
Where's Chet? Yeah, I would think so, but and I don't know about the dollar amount or whatever. Does that enter into it?
The lease says that it's approved by the Public Works Director.
Mr. Mayor, any contract that would be under $25,000, I would have the authority, as given to me by the council prior, to go ahead and sign on behalf of the city. If the total cost of the contract were to be over for $25,000 or more, it would require that I bring it back to you at this point. Do we raise that up to 50?
I thought we did last year.
Check, so it might be up to 50, so.
Dan's over here shaking his head.
Up to 50, okay.
So up to 50 grand you have signing.
Yeah.
Well, that sort of answers the question, because I don't think any cost to the city would come anywhere near that. So that answers that. So I know Ms. Young has a comment she'd like to make.
Carry you through, sir?
Yes, that's all for me right now. And of course, at the end, we'll be pleased to answer any questions the council may have.
Okay, then we'll put Barbara up. Go ahead, Barbara.
I request the city to help the Sparks Museum save Last Chance Joe from wrecking ball destruction. He may be a silly-looking character to a lot of people, but when you look at Joe, you just have to smile. On the Roadside America website, it's described, Last Chance Joe is described as, I quote, a symbol of Western fun and hospitality, a white-bearded prospector with a floppy hat and a pistol on each hip. I like that description because Sparks is a city of Western fun with hospitality. Joe is a piece of our local history, and today, together, the city and the museum, along with sponsors, can have an opportunity to preserve it for future generations to enjoy. The Sparks Museum thanks you for your consideration and waiving fees and negotiating with us in good faith.
Thanks, Barbara. Okay, next I have David Vill.
Good afternoon, Mayor Martini, council members. For the record, I'm David Vill. I reside at 1395 Skyline Boulevard, Reno, Nevada. As the vice president for the Historic Reno Preservation Society, which is typically known more by its acronym of HRPS, HARPS, I have been asked to appear today to support the general business item number 9.2. HARPS is the largest and best established local organization dedicated to the preservation and promotion of historic resources in the Truckee Meadows. We do support this proposal and are prepared to help in any way that we can. We do participate with Sparks in the historic tour downtown Sparks, and the board is willing to entertain some other discussion as to how we might participate. Last Chance Joe is part of the Nevada's Roadside Heritage, much like the Herald's Club, the mural that was moved to the Reno Sparks Livestock Convention Center. We have lost so many of our iconic gaming symbols. To lose Joe would be another blow to our unique Nevada history. The HARPS board feels that moving Joe to the Sparks Heritage Museum would be very appropriate way to preserve and to display the nugget and the symbol of Sparks. Just as a personal comment, if we are making it happening, what's more happening or festive than to have a 36-foot tall Jolly Miner in Victorian Square? Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Don Young.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Don Young, and for decades, Last Chance Joe has been a well-known, respected, loved, revered monument on B Street and Victorian Avenue. This piece of iconic and eclectic street art is now destined for the wrecking ball and needs a new home to save it. The Sparks Heritage Museum has such a place for it and is willing to display it for all posterity and our residents and visitors. So I'm asking you to support the request and do all you can to help the museum. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Anyone else? Okay, and I do have letters from Historic Reno Preservation supporting it. I have a letter from Larry D. Champagne, dentist in the town, that is supporting it. I have a letter from Gordon Foote, who is supporting it, wants to see Last Chance Joe saved, and also from Cindy Ainsworth, also from the Historic Reno Preservation Society, who is in favor of saving it. Go ahead, sir.
No, I just wanted to be available if anybody had any questions.
Okay, questions? Julia.
Just comments, a couple other pieces of information for you. We have established a fund at the Community Foundation that is designated specifically for the restoration and preservation of Last Chance Joe. And what that means is that actually Sparks is the controlling interest on that. And what that means is that any funds that go into that can only be used for that purpose, sort of regardless of ownership. The reason for putting it there as opposed to, say, just donating that money to the Sparks Heritage Museum is, of course, we all believe that the Sparks Heritage Museum will be around forever and thriving, but in the offhand chance that it isn't, that fund can be used by whatever entity, whether it be another nonprofit that steps up, the city, whomever, to solely for the purpose of maintaining and restoring Last Chance Joe. So it's our intent to, since we've been lucky enough with the good fortune of a good benefactor to fund the entire move and placement, we're going to do the community fundraising campaign to fund that fund so that there would be funds set aside for future maintenance, not for this current move. So I wanted to let you know about that. And then I wanted to thank the museum for stepping up and coming forward. They were the first to call and say, we know the perfect place for it. They already have it. If you haven't been to the museum recently, there is already a Last Chance Joe exhibit at the museum that has some of the fabulous old photos. It also has some of the tchotchkes that some of you may have at home in your cupboards, the salt and pepper shakers, the mugs, the squeeze doll toy. There's all kinds of fun Last Chance Joe, and it's all displayed at the museum. So I just can't think of a better home for it. And then in the staff report, it said something about whether or not, if we wanted to waive the building permit fees, whether or not those would actually we would waive the fees, or I think staff preferred that we identify a funding source. It would be $1,200 to $1,500, perhaps another funding source. Again, I don't think that that's a deal breaker for us. It would be a nice thing to have from the city to, show that the city cares about its historic artifacts as well. But I think if it's not something that the city wants to do, that we can figure it out.
Mr. Lawson.
So in the staff report, it says they've raised $24,000. Julia, you just said that you have a benefactor that's going to cover the entire cost. So this can be done all at once.
Yes, weather permitting. So we will be able to
So
get
raising money is not an issue at this point.
what the raising money, the intent is that should he get tagged, should somebody, throw a rock at him, anything along those lines, that fund would be there for the future preservation should something need to be remade.
This is the $24,000 you're talking about.
No.
She's saying they have $35,000 to $40,000.
Okay.
So
to move it.
To move it.
And you're having that totally taken care of, including the $24,000 is included in that.
We have two benefactors that we should definitely give credit to. One is Q&D Construction, which came in with a very favorable bid and brought the estimated project cost down to $31,000 as opposed to some of the past numbers that we had looked at. So we need to thank Q&D Construction for their generous help. And then we've had a benefactor step forward who has, we've had $5,000 donation from the Nugget, and then we've had a benefactor come forward who has pledged to fund the remainder of the relocation.
Okay.
So the fundraising effort would again be for future funds, should he be tagged, or, weather wears him down over time, that we can be able to maintain him.
Okay. What else? Question. So really the only thing we're talking about, the only concern Mr. Smith has then is the $1,200 to $1,500 permit fee. What other concerns do you have, Ron?
Just that, and you don't have any money in the account now, do you?
No.
To maintain it?
Well, we wanted to know we could save it before we went to the public to fund it.
Okay, well, I don't see, I would like to see it saved too. I'm sure $1,200 or $1,500, we can raise that out. I will find that much. I can guarantee I can take care of those fees one way or another. We can take care of those. And if that's your only problem, Ron, I will take care of that. We can fix that. That's not a problem. The maintenance thing does a little bit concern me, but if we can start fundraising and put some money in an account where we have money for the future to do the maintenance, then I don't see the downside here. The other thing is ownership. We have to own it because it's attached to our building.
For the record, again, John Martini.
Can the museum own it?
Now I'll speak as your city engineer. It will come down to the analysis for how to properly connect him. The building in question is fairly old. He is a fairly large structure. I don't want to get too technical here, but the wind load on Last Chance Joe founded on a building may not be a good idea. We had a meeting last week. It may be better to, if you will, put him on his own foundation foundation, he would not be connected to the building, he would be outside the parcel line in the right-of-way. There are a couple, we're going to have to see how it comes out.
He's on public property right now, right?
Regardless, no, he's on private property now at the Nugget, because he's in the alcove inside the building.
Okay.
Regardless, he will be on property owned by the city of Sparks. One is a parcel that the building sits on. If he's attached to it, he'll become part of that parcel. If he's outside the parcel line in the right-of-way, he'll exist on Victorian Avenue. We are the owner in both cases.
Okay.
In the past, and the city attorney smack me if I say this wrong, we can have private property in our right-of-way with a license to occupy, I believe, is the instrument we use to allow that to happen. So there are issues to negotiate here between the city and the museum. I believe there's a solution either way. If the council feels strongly that we do not want to own him, that it would be great direction at this time. If the council's not opposed to ownership, then that's good direction as well.
Okay. So then could the Sparks Heritage Museum own him?
They can certainly be listed as one of our artifacts.
Okay.
Well, that's within our contract with the city.
Okay.
How about if the city leased it to you for 99 years for $1, and you take all ownership and control over it?
Well, if there's a maintenance fund in the foundation, we'd be happy to do that. At the moment, our finances, I'm not too sure for long-range purposes, but I certainly like the idea of the foundation having a fund for maintenance.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll pledge $1,000 to that fund.
We'll provide you with free legal advice.
For what it's worth. That's right. That's exactly what it's worth. That's exactly what you're paying for.
Now,
you have some, Judy?
I did.
Go ahead.
Couple things. The benefactor has also shown an interest in ownership if the other parties don't feel like they want to take it, and so that would not guarantee that it stayed in the city of Sparks forever. But if neither of the parties are comfortable with ownership, they would be interested in ownership.
The benefactor that's anonymous?
Yes, at this point. And then the other piece is that I just wanted to point out, I took the time to request the lease between the museum and the city of Sparks, and the way the lease reads now is that the artifacts are controlled by the museum, but should the museum ever cease to exist, the first right of refusal on what happens with the artifacts, all of the artifacts, whether they be little salt and pepper shakers or a 36-foot tall statue, revert to the city of Sparks, everything. And so it seems to me that we're basically doing the same thing with Last Chance Joe, that should the unfortunate circumstance happen where the museum no longer exists, the city gets the first right to decide what happens.
Sure.
And that could be taken down if you don't want to maintain them anymore, but really the city reserves the right to do whatever they want with all of the artifacts. The lease also says that any changes to the lease should be approved by the Public Works Director. And so, of course, we don't have a Public Works Director anymore, but I'm assuming anywhere that it refers to the Public Works Director, it reverts to Community Services Director now. But it seems to me that if everybody's, I mean, that's the arrangement we have with the museum now, is we control the artifacts and the disposition of those artifacts once the museum no longer exists. So if everybody's comfortable with that arrangement, I would suggest that we already have a lease that really just has to get into the details of the structure and where it's placed, but already talks about the artifacts and that we get to decide if they go away.
Mr. Smith?
Do we even know if it's structurally sound that they can take it down without even it falling apart?
Councilman Smith, at this time, we do not. At the conclusion of our meeting, Q&D was literally going to crawl inside, Last Chance Joe, and I think we discussed at the meeting, if the news comes back that he can't make the move, then he won't make the move.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think there's a general gentleman's agreement that that's the case. Or if in taking it down, he collapses into a pile of rubble. It's all over.
And one more.
Go ahead.
Probably more importantly, what came out of that meeting, and I thought this was brilliant because it hadn't occurred to me, I thought we were going to have to do it all in one move because it would be cost prohibitive to do it otherwise. But the interim solution is to not do the work at the museum. So the museum requires removing a couple of window boxes and building a foundation that would be sufficient to stand up the structure. But we're not going to do that work. We're going to pull Last Chance Joe off the Nugget and store him in the Nugget West parking lot before we do the work on the museum. So if he crumbles into 50 pieces when he comes off of the side of the Nugget, we won't have done anything to the museum, so we won't have spent any money. So that two-phase plan gives us the best cost-effective option.
You're going to put him over there and put him to sleep for a while and
Exactly.
let him rest a little bit?
Yes.
Put him in hibernation, that's a good idea, yeah.
But it also gives the structural engineer that we've engaged the opportunity to spend some time with him and make sure that they can stand it up.
Is this going to be quality time?
Quality
or-
time.
Could be a little intimate, yes.
Yeah. So that we know that we're getting the best structural solution.
Okay. All right, what else? Questions, answers?
Any, so I would imagine if title is going to transfer on Last Chance, Joe.
There's a title?
I don't think there's a title.
Well, there's got to be something of ownership here.
Yes.
And the Nugget will retain ownership.
Pretty much.
Pardon? Bill of sale, but that bill of sale will not issue until after it's removed from his resting place in the garage.
Not resting place, just,
He's simply resting there,
He's simply
right?
resting.
He's simply chilling out. So after Joe chills, and we then move it over, that's when the bill of sale will occur for whatever amount, which is kind of a transfer of ownership. Okay, good.
Okay, let me make sure I understand where we're at here. If we agree to this, then we're going to take him down, put him in hibernation for a while until we decide how we can put him up if we can. If for some reason he crumbles and falls and dies, then he's gone. It's the end of the story. Nothing else happens. We're thinking about leasing this to the Heritage Museum for 99 years for $1. Is that what I'm hearing?
Or as Councilwoman Ratty said, if there's already an existing lease that contemplates artifacts, that could
Okay,
simply be
all right, I
amended
get
to
it.
add this to an attachment, and
I get
we
it.
could do it that way as well.
Okay, then we're going to, somebody's going to fund this to the tune of whatever it costs. Secondly, we're putting together a fund at that community
Community
fund
Foundation of Western Nevada.
for maintenance in the future.
Correct?
Okay, what else am I missing? Go ahead.
Because of the timing on this, or do we need to bring it back to council? Or can we, with direction today, make this thing happen without having it come back to council?
I think we can make it happen
I
today.
believe the city's direct financial obligation, if you will be less than $50,000 under what we've contemplated today. I believe that can then be taken straight to City Manager Driscoll.
To me, that because of the timing factor, I don't want to see it have to come back to here and notice and all the other things. And I think if we give clear direction to Steve that he can make this work out just perfectly for everyone. And if there is an issue that arises and needs to come back, then I guess we can always do that. But I'd rather see it just sail through and
I think
keep going.
the main thing is to get him attached and in the parking lot, and that'll give us plenty of time to do what we need to do.
And by the way, $31,000 to remove that is a smoking deal. 'Cause
Yeah.
my company quoted 90, and there's a lot of issues with this 50-year-old guy. So it's
There's a lot of
it's a
issues
big
with
deal.
me,
Yeah, I got a lot of issues also. But yeah, I'm in favor of it. And if Julia wants to make a motion covering what the mayor said, so it's very clear, then I'm good.
All right, I'll give that a shot. So I move to direct staff to negotiate to negotiate the relocation of Last Chance Joe to the southern side of the city-owned building at 820 Victorian Avenue, with all expenses of the move to be paid by the Sparks Heritage Museum and Cultural Center, with the understanding that a fund will be set up at the Community Foundation to fund future maintenance. And do we want to stay in the terms of the current lease where we have the first right to decide? So similar, with amending the lease to have the same terms as the current artifacts.
Okay. Do you have a second?
And what about the fees?
Yes. Oh, yeah, we have to, the fees will have to be paid to the city.
Okay, so we're not going to ask for
In
the,
some form or space, we will get those paid to the city.
Make a
Okay,
motion
so we're
that
not-
Gino pays the fees.
Okay, I'll take care of it.
Chicken.
not requesting a waiver of the fees today. So the motion is purely to relocate, negotiate the terms, and align them with the terms of the current artifacts, along with the setting up the fund at the community
Capture
foundation.
everything?
Great.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Ratty, seconded by Councilman Lawson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay.
Doctor, you now own the last chance joke.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor and council members, I just want to express our appreciation. I'm sure we can work out the details that have been discussed today. And I'd like to take this moment just to second what Council Lady Ratty said about the Sparks Heritage Western Festival. It occurs Saturday on the 4th of October. It'll be officially open around 10:30. I think, Mayor, you've been informed that there may be a ceremony at the Glendale Schoolhouse.
Yes.
It's not up for publication yet, but there'll be a certain person named Krolicki, I think, will be officiating, recognizing the sesquicentennial of the Glendale Schoolhouse. And we will also have entertainment on 2 stages from 11 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And those entertainers will continue on later on with a cantina and a brewery. We're also going to have a performance Friday night of a heritage banjo performance, and invite everybody to attend. All events are open to the public. Donations will be accepted.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move on to 10.1, public hearing and possible approval of the Consolidated Plan Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, for 2013-14. Is this, George, you taking care of this? Yes. I was wondering why you had a tie on today.
Oh, yeah.
You look very nice.
Did wear my pen.
Okay.
Councilman allows me to make sure I wear my pen. Sparks.
Sparks. Go ahead, George.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, George Graham, Housing Specialist, for the record. What I'm here to present is our annual CAPER, stands for the Consolidated Plan Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, which is a requirement of HUD. And so it's the report of Program Year 4. We're currently in Program Year 5, which is the final year. So next year we'll do a new comp plan. But I'll be reporting on last year. We had over $1 million plus dollars in CDBG, which was expended on different pedestrian improvement, infrastructure, housing rehab, facilities improvement for homeless and all that. And I have the report, and there's still some things I'm incorporating in the report because as of last Friday, I received some information from City of Reno that I have to incorporate in the report, and I'm working on that now. And the 30th of September is the submittal date that I have to have it to HUD, but so I'm working on all that. And so I have more detailed breakdown, but I don't know if there's any questions or anything. I'm prepared to respond to any questions.
Questions
on
for
the
George?
report.
Then we'll have a public hearing. Questions? Oh, okay. This is a public hearing item, so open to the public. Anyone in the public want to speak to this particular agenda item? Seeing none, we'll close it and bring it back to council for action or questions. Questions? Mr. Smith.
Make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve submittal of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report for Program Year 2013-14 for the City of Sparks to HUD.
Schlosser.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Smith, second by Councilman Lawson to approve 10.1. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, George.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to 11. PCN 14030, consideration and possible action on a request for a tentative and final approval of the amendment to the Plan Development Handbook, Crestgate Pyramid Planned Development to revise development standards to allow expansion of the personal storage use in Area 4. Karen Melby.
Give me a second. I'm waiting for the...
No problem.
Good afternoon, Mayor Martini and Council. Karen Melby, Senior Planner. Before you today is a request for a tentative and final approval of the amendment to the Plan Development Handbook called Crestgate Pyramid Plan Development. They are requesting to revise the development standards to allow the expansion of personal storage use in Area 4. Briefly, this is outlined in blue here is the Crestgate Pyramid Plan Development. I'll point with my pen. This is Pyramid Highway, and this would be McCarran. This would be the Raley grocery store as reference.
I think we did that change, yeah.
The Crestgate Pyramid Plan Development is divided into 4 areas, as shown on my graphic here. Area 1 is the pink area, and that is where the auto parts store is. In blue is Area 2, and that is where the office buildings are, which is all built out. Area 3 represents the personal storage, and Area 4, which is green, is the area that we're talking about today. The revised plan in the Plan Development Handbook maintains the integrity of the plan by sustaining the office residential character along Roberta Lane. Installing streetscape in front of the personal storage walls as required by the handbook will soften the appearance of the personal storage from Roberta Lane. The proposed use will generate daily traffic which would be less than the proposed office use on this property. The vehicular and pedestrian circulation will be maintained by the handbook, and with this request will not be changed. They will all still function as the same, and it's also will function as a transitional land use between the shopping center on the corner and the residential to the west and south of this property. This is also a request for a final handbook. The draft handbook does not vary the gross residential density or intensity. It does not vary the proposed ratio of residential to non-residential uses. It does not reduce the common open space area. It does not increase the floor area, and it could possibly increase the total ground floor area. If the personal storage is constructed rather than the RV storage, which is the proposed use right now for Area 4, there will be an increased ground coverage of buildings. However, the increase is less than approved in earlier versions of this handbook. The personal storage construction could change the coverage from a paved parking lot to covered storage. It is staff's opinion that the final draft amendment for the Crestgate Pyramid Plan Development Standards Handbook does not substantially increase ground coverage and therefore complies with the 5 above criteria. The proposed amendments preserves the integrity of the plan and protects the nearby residents. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Karen? Okay, seeing none, the applicant want to speak, Mr. Crater? Applicant's representative, I would assume? Come on down, Ken.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Ken Crater, representing the owner and the applicant of this project. Karen did a great job with the presentation. I just wanted to point out one thing, and that is a big issue when we came to council last time was the desire by council to build one more office building along Roberta Lane next to the cul-de-sac bulb, and that was done. It's fully leased, and so they did live up to their commitment on that end, but I think it's turned out to be a great project, and we're happy to be here today and hope you support us. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Ken? Okay, thanks, Ken. Okay, this is a public hearing. I've opened to the public. Anyone want to speak to this particular item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for action or questions. Any questions? Okay, if not, looking for a motion.
Make a motion. Move to approve item 11.1 as presented by staff.
Do I have a second? It's ready.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Councilwoman Ratty to approve PCN 14030. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you very much.
You bet, Ken. Thank you for being here. Closed door, Steve?
No, sir.
Comments from the public? Anyone want to speak in the public? Comments from City Council, City Manager?
I have a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
In a different capacity altogether, I've had the distinct privilege and opportunity to be knocking on several of our residents' homes here lately. And I have gone to several different homes whose occupants wanted to compliment our Parks and Rec director for using inmate labor, who apparently have done an excellent job at cleaning up Golden Eagle Park. I understand that every weed has been picked up, every blade of grass has been cleaned, and I told them I would convey it to you, and people are noticing it and are greatly appreciative of it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no further business, we're adjourned.
Okay, I'll call the Ordinance Parks Redevelopment Agency meeting for September 22nd, 2014, with a roll call, please.
Chairman Smith.
Here.
Agency members Ratty.
Here.
Lawson.
Here.
Martini.
Here.
Kerrigan. Absent Schmidt. Absent Agency Manager Driscoll.
Here.
Agency Attorney Adams.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, at this time, I'll open up to public comment. Anybody in the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the agency. 4, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion, 2 motions, and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Approval of the minutes, consideration and possible approval of the minutes of the regular Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting for August 25th, 2014.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 6, report of claims and bills approved for payment and appropriation. Go ahead.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion.
Now we're interrupting to get free.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 7, comments from members of the agency? Or just comments? Hold it. Go back. Comments from the public. I'll open up public comment. Anybody in the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the agency. Comments from the agency? Any comments? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
Sweet.
Wham, bam.